Hello students, today we are going to study about the cardiac cycle. So let's begin. But first we need to understand the structure of the heart. The heart is made up of 4 chambers divided into 2 sides. The left side of the heart has a much thicker wall as it needs to pump more strongly to deliver blood all around the body, whereas the right side just needs to send the bloods to the lung. The left side carries oxygenated blood, whereas the right side carries deoxygenated blood. The chambers at the top are called the atria, and these chambers receive the blood from the veins supplying the heart. Blood flows from the atria to the ventricles, which are separated from the atria by atrioventricular valves to prevent blood flowing in the opposite direction. There are another set of valves between the ventricles and the arteries, which are called the semilunar valves, as they look like little half moons. The main artery, which takes oxygenated blood from the left side of the heart to the rest of the body, is called the aorta, whereas the artery which delivers deoxygenated blood between the right side of the heart and the lungs is called the pulmonary artery. The major vein which returns blood from the body to the right side of the heart is the vena cava, and the vein which ferries blood from the lungs to the heart is called the pulmonary vein. So let's have a quick look at the structure of the heart. See, right atrium, the heart is divided into 4 chambers: right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle. You can see the atrioventricular valves, the vena cava, the pulmonary artery, the aorta, the pulmonary vein, and the semilunar valve. This is a simple diagram. Now let's have a look at a complex diagram. See, the 4 chambers of the heart, the tricuspid valve located at the right atrium, yes. Then the bicuspid valve located in between the left atrium and the left ventricles. You can see the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava, the pulmonary arteries, the aortic semilunar valve, the pulmonary veins, pulmonary arteries, etc. Now let's come to the cardiac cycle. What is a cardiac cycle? The cardiac cycle is a coordinated sequence of contractions, that is systole, and relaxations, that is diastole, by the heart muscles, which causes the blood to move from the atria into the ventricles and then the arteries. Muscle contractions are referred to as systole and relaxations are referred to as diastole. The movement of blood through the different compartments of the heart rely on changes in volume and pressure as a result of the contraction of the heart muscle walls. Now let's see what are the changes in the pressure. Fluids move from higher pressure to lower pressure. Now during systole the pressure rises and during diastole the pressure falls. So the blood movement to a lower pressure ensures that the blood flows in only one direction. So the flow of blood is unidirectional. Now let's see the mechanism, how the cardiac cycle works. Heart muscle cells cannot contract by their own natural rhythms. So cardiac cycle is initiated in a specialized patch of muscles. What are they known? The specialized patch of muscles found in the right atrium are called the sinoatrial node or the SAN. They are located near the opening of the vena cava. Consists of a small number of cardiac muscle fibers and few nerve endings. Okay. So, stimulus for contraction of the heart is generated in these SAN. However, there is a band of fibers between the atria and the ventricles which does not conduct the excitation wave of the SAN. So how does the electrical impulse move? The only route through is via a patch of conducting fibers called the atrioventricular node, or the AVN, situated in the septum. This AVN picks up excitation wave as it spreads across the atria and passes it on to a bunch of conducting fibers called the Purkinje fibers. This transmits the excitation wave rapidly down to the base of the septum and then to the walls of the ventricles, thus causing the cardiac muscle in these walls to contract, squeezing blood upwards and into the arteries. Now let's see the phases of cardiac cycle. First phase of the cardiac cycle is known as the atrial systole. What happens? The atria contracts while the ventricles relax. This decreases the volume inside the atria, which increases the pressure. So pressure is increased in atria. Then the auriculoventricular valves, the atrioventricular valves open and pushes the blood into the ventricles. So blood flows into the ventricles. Now the second phase is the ventricular systole. In this, the ventricles contract while the atria are relaxed. This decreases the volume inside the ventricles, which increases the pressure. The pressure is higher in the ventricles compared to the atria, which forces the atrioventricular valves to close and cause the semilunar valves to open. The closure of the AV valve is important because it prevents the backflow of the blood into the atria, and this closure of AV valves also produces the first heart sound, that is the lub. Understood? Now blood is forced out of the ventricles and into the arteries, that is the aorta and the pulmonary artery. Then the third phase of the cardiac cycle is known as the joint diastole, where both the atria and the ventricles are relaxed, so the pressure is low in both the chambers. Since the pressure is higher in the arteries than in the heart chambers, the semilunar valves are forced close, which prevents blood flowing backwards into the ventricles, and this closure of semilunar valves produces the second heart sound, that is dub. Blood is returned to the heart and the atria fill with blood again. So the two heart sounds are lub and dub. See, here is a diagrammatic representation of the cardiac cycle. The venous blood returns to the right atrium. Then from the right atrium it moves to the right ventricles. Then the venous blood is sent in the lungs via the pulmonary artery, where it gets oxygenated, and the oxygenated red blood returns into the left atrium. Then from the left atrial it moves to the left ventricle, and from there it is sent in the arteries to the tissues. This is a complete cardiac cycle. Yes, cyclic diagrammatic representation of the cardiac cycle. Arterial systole is about 0.1 second long, ventricular systole is about 0.3 seconds, and complete cardiac diastole, that is the joint diastole, is 0.4 seconds. This makes the cardiac cycle 0.8 seconds long. Okay. Thank you. Have a good day.